From New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lin. Namaskar. Coming up in this edition of News Hour. Angola President Lourenço concludes his state visit to India, showcases key investment opportunities in Angola at a business forum. PM Modi continues to meet top defense officials after the Pahalgam terror attacks. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh pledges to secure borders and support soldiers. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar stresses India's strengthening ties with Nordic countries, highlights India's policy of realism in global affairs. Russian President Putin hopes there will be no need to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit 2025 wraps up in Mumbai, showcasing India's creative strength. Following the deadly terrorist attack on tourists in Pahalgam, the national security is continuing to remain the top priority in India. Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh met Prime Minister Narendra Modi at his residence. The meeting comes as tensions have escalated on the line of control. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has vowed to secure borders and to stand strong with the brave soldiers. Here's a comprehensive report on the developments.
After the horrific terror attack on tourists in Pahalgam, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is actively reviewing the security situation. In his latest meeting, PM Modi met Chief of Air Staff Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh at his residence. This follows a similar meeting with Navy Chief Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi just a day earlier. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh made a strong statement saying that as Defence Minister, it is my responsibility to ensure the security of our borders alongside our brave soldiers.
साथियों, एक रक्षा मंत्री के रूप में मेरा दायित्व है कि मैं अपने सैनिकों के साथ मिलकर देश की सीमाओं की सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करूं और मेरा यह दायित्व है कि अपनी सेना के साथ मिलकर देश के ऊपर आंख उठाने वालों को मुंहतोड़ जवाब दूं.
Meanwhile, tensions escalated across the line of control. The Indian Army responded to unprovoked small arms firing by the Pakistan Army during the intervening night of 3rd and 4th May. The firing targeted multiple sectors including Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri, Mendar, Naushera, Sundarbani and Akhnur in Jammu and Kashmir. Amid heightened Indo-Pak tensions, the Indian government has suspended the social media accounts of PPP chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari and PTI founder and former Prime Minister Imran Khan within India. In a show of solidarity, members of the Indian diaspora in Germany held a peaceful protest in Munich condemning the attack. Over 700 participants, including Indian students and community leaders, were joined by German Member of Parliament Professor Hans Thies, sending a clear message against terrorism. Despite the attack, Kashmir continues to welcome tourists. Gulmarg, the famed meadow of flowers, remains a favorite destination, reflecting the resilience of the region and its people. Even in the face of terror, India is showing unity, resolve, and strength. From diplomatic measures to military preparedness and global solidarity, the message is clear. The nation stands firm against those who threaten its peace. With inputs from Vishal Barristo in Gulmarg, Amish Mahajan's report for DD India.
News from Gaza now. And the Israeli Defense Forces have issued call-up orders to tens of thousands of reservists in preparation for an escalation of its military campaign in the Gaza Strip. According to Israeli media reports, most of the reservists will replace active duty soldiers currently deployed in northern Israel and the West Bank so as to allow those troops to be redeployed to Gaza to reinforce the ground offensive. Israeli authorities have consistently cautioned that if no agreement is reached soon, a full-scale assault aimed at dismantling Hamas could begin. The forthcoming phase of the offensive will include IDF activity in additional areas of the Gaza Strip. A missile fired by Yemen's Houthi rebels towards Israel on Sunday landed near the Ben Gurion airport. And this is the country's main international airport, sending a plume of smoke into the air and causing panic among passengers in the terminal building. CCTV footage released on Sunday shows a missile landing near the airport and black smoke rising after the strike. Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis, who claimed responsibility for the missile strike, have recently intensified missile launches at Israel, saying they are acting in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. However, Tel Aviv airport resumed operations after some time. Passengers at the airport were moved to safer places inside the airport, while the departure terminal seemed nearly empty. The Israeli military said a projectile launched from Yemen had landed in the vicinity of the airport. The Israeli ambulance service said that there were no reports of any serious injury. Now, on the other hand, Israeli protesters gathered in Tel Aviv calling for an end to the war in Gaza and also the release of the remaining hostages. Protesters urged the government to end the conflict, saying the only way to bring back the hostages is to return to the negotiating table. And as the news of food shortages spread in Gaza, stores were looted this week in the enclave. Hamas has taken serious note of this. In fact, the fighting group has executed a number of alleged looters after several incidents in which heavily armed gangs had attacked food stores and community kitchens in the Gaza Strip this week. Sources close to the Palestinian group Hamas their officials have accused some of the looters of working in collaboration with Israel, in fact, which has sealed off aid from entering Gaza for the past 2 months. Israel has not commented on these allegations. Well, the US is pushing for peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, but challenges persist. The Russian President Putin announced a 72-hour ceasefire for Victory Day, which Ukraine dismissed as symbolic. He insists that Moscow has the resources to conclude the war without nuclear weapons. The Kremlin seeks a clear response from Ukraine on its ceasefire offer, while Zelensky, he's demanding a longer truce. DD India's Saeed Absarul Hassan provides us some perspective. Take a look.
The United States has been actively engaged in efforts to mediate peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, aiming to bring an end to the ongoing conflict. Despite these efforts, the peace process faces significant challenges. Russian President Vladimir Putin had announced a unilateral 72-hour ceasefire in honor of Victory Day celebrations on May 8th and 9th. While Ukraine has dismissed the move as a symbolic gesture lacking substantive commitment, Putin says that Moscow has sufficient strength and resources to take the war in Ukraine to its logical conclusion. In a preview of an upcoming interview on Russian state TV, Putin said that the need to use nuclear weapons does not arise to achieve targets in Ukraine, as Moscow has all types of resources to achieve the target.
Хотели добиться того, чтобы мы совершили ошибки.
They wanted to provoke us. As you said it yourself, they wanted us to make mistakes. There was no need to use the weapons you spoke about, and I hope they will not be required. We have enough strength and means to bring what was started in 2022 to a logical conclusion with the outcome Russia requires.
The Kremlin wanted a definitive response from Ukraine to Russia's offer of a 3-day ceasefire next week, criticizing the reaction so far as ambiguous and historically wrong. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky rejected the brief ceasefire proposal on Saturday. He asserted that Ukraine wanted to sign up to a ceasefire that would last at least 30 days. Putin portrays the war as a watershed moment in Moscow's relations with the West, which he says humiliated Russia after the Berlin Wall fall in 1989 by expanding NATO and encroaching on what he considers Moscow's sphere of influence. In February 2022, Putin ordered thousands of Russian troops into Ukraine, in triggering Europe's biggest ground conflict since Second World War. US President Donald Trump has been signaling for weeks that he is frustrated by the failure of Moscow and Kiev to reach terms to end the conflict, though Kremlin has said that the conflict is so complicated that the rapid progress Washington wants is difficult. Former US President Joe Biden, Western European leaders, and Ukraine cast the invasion as an imperial-style land grab and repeatedly vowed to defeat Russian forces, which control about a fifth of Ukraine. Syed Absurul Hassan's report for DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar attended the India Forum co-hosted by the Arctic Circle and the Observer Research Foundation in collaboration with the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi. On the theme, the Polar Order, the Arctic and Asia. Speaking at this forum, Dr. Jaishankar highlighted India's growing relationship with Nordic countries and the evolving geopolitical situation and its impact on India's ties with the world.
We are going to see, in a sense, arena or a domain of contestation, which is not going to be easy to recall. Now, this is not unique. I mean, we are going to see it in space, we're going to see it underwater, we're going to see it in AI. So we are looking at a much more contested world, much sharper competition. We look for partners. We don't look for preachers. Particularly preachers who don't practice at home what they preach abroad. And I think some of Europe is still struggling with that problem. Some of it is changing. So the issue for us, I mean, in many ways, Europe, I think, has entered a certain zone of reality check. Now, whether they are able to step up to it or not, it's something we will have to see. But from our point of view, if we are to develop a partnership, there has to be some understanding, there has to be some sensitivity, there has to be a mutuality of interest, and there has to be a realization of how the world works.
Dr. Jaishankar said that India follows realism and highlighted the need to engage with Russia in a particularly interdependent world. The minister also said that India is looking for partners and not preachers, as we heard him say there.
Always felt that there was, international relations is conducted on the basis of some fundamental realism, and that realism requires an engagement with Russia. There is a need to engage Russia. I mean, nobody wants wars. These are particularly in a very interdependent world. For us to engage Russia, and if there is any way we can be of any help, we have always been very open about it. Having said that, we have also been very careful not to prescribe a solution. If you have situations where everything is gridlocked, and then say, well, how do we get a global governance answer?
Well, still to come here on DD India News Hour. Singapore's long dominant People's Action Party wins yet another mandate. Ex-junta chief Brice Oligui Nguema is sworn in as Gabon's fourth president. Romanians return to the polls. This is a rerun of November's annulled presidential election. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Lawrence Wong on his party's resounding victory in Singapore's general elections. In a post on X, the Prime Minister wrote, and I quote, "Heartiest congratulations, Lawrence Wong, on your resounding victory in the general elections. India and Singapore share a strong and multifaceted partnership underpinned by close people-to-people ties. I look forward to continue working closely with you to further advance our comprehensive strategic partnership." Singapore's long-dominant People's Action Party secured a decisive win in a closely watched general election, reaffirming its political grip under the newly appointed Prime Minister Lawrence Wong. And with stability reaffirmed at the ballot box, all eyes are now on how Prime Minister Wong will manage Singapore's evolving economic and social pressures. Here's the report.
Singaporeans voted for Prime Minister Lawrence Wong and his People's Action Party in the city-state's general elections. In his first electoral test since taking office, Wong led the PAP to a resounding victory, claiming 87 out of the 97 seats in Parliament and securing over 65% of the vote.
This is my first election as Prime Minister and as Secretary General of the PAP. So it's been a very humbling experience working with all of you, interacting and engaging with all of you. We are grateful once again for your strong mandate, and we will honor it. We will honor the trust that you have given to us by working even harder for all of you.
Despite concerns over rising living costs and housing shortages, voters opted for continuity amid global economic headwinds, including the threat of recession and US tariff pressures.
The results will put Singapore in a better position to face this turbulent world. Many are watching the elections closely, whether it's international media, investors, or foreign governments. They will have taken note of tonight's results. It's a clear signal of trust, stability, and confidence in your government.
The main opposition Workers' Party retained its 10 seats, falling short of making further gains after modest progress in previous elections. The result reinforces the PAP's 6-decade-long dominance, delivering its 14th consecutive win since Singapore's independence in 1965. With a landslide victory, Wong now faces the challenge of steering one of Asia's most prosperous economies through uncertain global tides. Bureau Report, DD India.
Gabon's ex-junta chief, Brice Oligui Nguema, was sworn in as the country's fourth president, signaling a return to constitutional order after nearly 2 years of political transition. Nguema was sworn in as the president in front of approximately 40,000 people, including 16 African heads of state, during a ceremony near Libreville. And Nguema took office, he took office because he won 95% of the vote in Gabon's first election since Oligui had toppled Ali Bongo in August of 2023. Nguema, in fact, swept the elections on April 12. As we said, he won nearly 95% of the vote, defeating 7 other candidates, including the outgoing Prime Minister Alain Claude Bilibi Enize. And they had finished second with just 3% of the vote. And none of the other 6 candidates, in fact, were able to get more than 1% of the votes. So, addressing the Gabonese people, Nguema, in fact, pledged to renew democracy in the country, which has only had 4 presidents since gaining its independence in 1960. Romanians returned to the polls on Sunday for a rerun of November's annulled presidential election, with the far-right candidate again expected to win in the first round. Hard-right politician George Simeon voted in the presidential election rerun on Sunday, and he opposes military aid to neighboring Ukraine and is aligned with the US President's Make in America or Make America Great Again movement. And this latest opinion poll also puts Simeon on course to win the rerun's first round. The former Romanian Senator Crin Antonescu also voted in this presidential election rerun on Sunday. Antonescu, in fact, is backed by the 3 parties in the current pro-Western government.
Any presidential campaign is incredibly difficult. Even more, it has been a long campaign. I don't refer strictly to the 30 days, but rather to the whole history and the psychological charge that have built up because of this campaign.
Well, a small plane crashed into a neighborhood in California's Simi Valley on Saturday afternoon, killing 2 people aboard the aircraft and damaging 2 homes. The Ventura County Fire Department said that the single-engine plane struck 2 homes before ending up in the yard of one of the homes. The crash sparked a fire and the residents of the 2 homes evacuated with no injuries before firefighters called to the scene put it out. Fire crews responded to the scene and the police cordoned off the streets, warning people to stay clear of the area. The cause of the crash is under investigation. The Mexican President, Claudia Sheinbaum, has said on Saturday, she said that the U.S. President Donald Trump had proposed sending U.S. troops to Mexico to combat drug trafficking. But she's rejected that offer because of sovereignty. Sovereignty is not for sale, she said. Sheinbaum's, in fact, comments, they were the response to questions about the report published on May 2 that said that Donald Trump was pressuring Mexico to allow deeper U.S. military involvement against drug cartels to combat trafficking across the shared border. And speaking at a public event on Saturday, Sheinbaum, she said that Trump had asked her during a phone call how he could help fight organized crime, and he suggested that he was going to send U.S. troops, but the Mexican leader said that she declined the offer.
In one of the calls, President Trump said it was important for the US Army to enter Mexico to help us in the fight against drug trafficking. I propose that we can collaborate, we can work together, but you can do it in your own territory. We can do it in ours. We can share information, but we will never accept the presence of the US Army in our territory.
Well, hundreds of people took to the streets of Mali's capital, Bamako. This happened on Saturday in a public show of defiance against the military-led government. The demonstration was sparked by growing concerns among opposition parties over the possible dissolution of political organizations by the ruling authorities. The protests were organized by a broad coalition of political parties and civil society groups who say they are increasingly alarmed by the shrinking democratic space under military rule. This rally comes amid widespread speculation that the transitional military government, which seized power in 2021 in a coup, may move to ban or dissolve certain political parties ahead of long-delayed elections. The North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has inspected a tank factory and expressed satisfaction over the upgraded structural design of indigenous tanks, while emphasizing the need to modernize the military with advanced tanks. Kim's visit comes amid a broader push to modernize North Korea's conventional armed forces, in addition to its nuclear and missile arsenals. The North Korean leader recently attended the launch of a new naval destroyer and tests of new drones, among other weapons. South Korean and U.S. officials have said they suspect the North is receiving some technical and military help from Russia in return for sending ammunition missiles, as well as troops for the war in Ukraine, but no details have been confirmed. The Angola President Lourenço concluded a 4-day state visit to India. On the concluding day of the visit, he attended a business forum and he highlighted that India and Angola can collaborate in several areas, several sectors which include agriculture, healthcare, energy, logistics, technology, education and defense, leveraging India's expertise as well as Angola's resources for mutual growth. Let's look at this report.
Angola's President João Lourenço concluded his state visit to India on May 4th. His first bilateral visit to India marks 40 years of diplomatic ties and the first such visit by an Angolan leader in 38 years. He was accompanied by a high-level delegation. On the final day, he addressed the India-Angola Business Forum in New Delhi, highlighting strong political commitment between both nations and urging deeper economic cooperation. He emphasized India's expertise in generic medicines and Angola's vast land, presenting opportunities in agriculture and healthcare. Lorenzo also invited Indian businesses to invest in Angola's logistics sector. Referencing recently signed agreements, he said they would ease Indian entry into Angola's market, noting that business procedures have been simplified. Minister of State for External Affairs, Kirti Vardhan Singh, welcomed Angola as the 123rd member of the International Solar Alliance, calling it a step towards sustainability.
Angola is undergoing a remarkable change. With the diversification of its economy, modernization of infrastructure, and improving the ease of doing business, Angola has strengthened its presence on the global stage.
India and Angola share warm ties, strengthened by a growing energy partnership. Bilateral trade reached $4.192 billion in 2023-24, alongside expanding cooperation in development, capacity building, and defense.
They will be sourcing defense equipment from India. Already they are in touch with the private companies and also public sector companies for various items to be sourced from India. And the important aspect is there is a commonality. They have a large number of Soviet equipment, defense equipment, which needs to be serviced, overhauled, and do the maintenance.
India and Angola can collaborate in agriculture, healthcare, energy, logistics, technology, education, and defense, leveraging India's expertise and Angola's resources for mutual growth. Both nations back each other in multilateral fora, including the United Nations. Bureau Report, DD India.
The Health Minister of India, who's also the BJP National President JP Nadda, on Sunday met the President of Angola, João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço. And during this meeting, Nadda presented the President of Angola with a book titled Modi at 20 Dreams Meet Delivery, authored by the Finance Commission Chairperson Arvind Panagadia, the External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar, and Rajya Sabha MP Sudha Murthy. The Angolan President, Lourenço, during his state visit to India, had emphasized on a renewed vision for India-Angolan ties, in fact, calling for a deeper economic partnership. Still to come here on DD India News Hour, we're going to put into context the state visit of the Angolan leader to India, the first in 38 years. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. Angola President Lourenço concludes a state visit to India. He showcases key investment opportunities in Angola at a business forum. Prime Minister Modi continues to meet top defense officials after the Pahalgam terror attacks. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh pledges to secure borders and support soldiers. The World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit 2025 wraps up in Mumbai, showcasing India's creative strength. We'll be happy to have with us Professor Ajay Kumar Dubey from the School of International Studies, JNU. Thank you very much, Professor, for being with us. We're going to focus on India-Angola relations. So what strategic benefits, does India gain from strengthening its ties with Angola?
Angola is currently the president of African Union, and we have been trying to find a common dates for fourth edition of India-Africa Forum Summit. And I think this visit will enable us to find a convenient date during his presidency, because he has promised this time that he will enable that. The second important thing is that India's relation with Africa is traditional, is strong, but it is still to grow in area which is non-Anglophone. Angola is a Lusophone country, Portuguese-speaking country, and therefore deepening economic ties with Angola is going to be very important for India in terms of broadening its support and economic engagement in Africa. And thirdly, India and Angola are also important because Angola is the second most important source of import of energy resources for India after Nigeria. And therefore, this visit will also ensure that we will have a growing relationship in terms of energy security for India.
Okay.
And of course, it has opened some new area of cooperations with Angola, which includes areas of traditional medicine, areas of digital platforms. So these are the strategic gains that India will have.
Professor Dubey, you know, you did talk about energy and Angola joining the International Solar Alliance. How will this impact Angola's energy policies and India's also leadership in a way of the Global Renewable Energy Initiative?
In fact, Angola is an important source for energy, traditional energy, and India, China, and many other countries are important beneficiaries of that. They have substantial relationship in these areas. India's leadership in promoting Solar Alliance and promoting renewable energy and taking it to Angola, where it is going to be one, I think, 23rd or 24th member of International Solar Alliance, will convey India's interest in this area and also engage Angola in export of Indian products which are related to renewable energy.
Also, Professor Dubey, India has a $200 million line of credit for Angola's defense procurement. Now, how does this align with India's defense diplomacy in Africa? And do you see any potential challenges given the volatile nature that Africa is? You know, I mean, the kind of political environment across several African countries is quite volatile.
Yes, it's quite volatile, but the fact that 200 million is not a big amount in terms of defense cooperations. We have very substantial economic cooperation in different areas, and this is one new component that is being introduced. What we should see that right now this cooperation is only in terms of providing services and spare parts of the Soviet defense equipments. We should take it forward. Now we have defense production in many areas. We should move to that. So this $200 million should not be seen as a major component of the defense cooperation, but should be seen as the one which initiate defense cooperation, where we have a benefit in many areas.
So you did mention about the agreements, agriculture, Ayurveda, cultural cooperation. How do they contribute actually to the long-term goals of this relationship?
Well, our relationship is confined to a very few areas, and expanding that relationship to multidimensional level will strengthen our engagement with Angola, and therefore this will also give us a scope to work at people level, like in terms of the Ayurvedic medicine, traditional medicine. We are discussing how to open local level dispensary and then disperse this medicine, also export our traditional medicine in Angola and African country. Similarly, cultural agreement is a must because it's a Lusophone country, and we don't have much cooperation, though we have 8,000 Indian diaspora. But in terms of people-to-people connect, it's not very strong, and we need to move into this area so that our core interest in terms of economic cooperation, in terms of defense cooperation, in terms of our global cooperation for reforming institutions of global governance, we could move forward by these multi-dimensional relationships.
Prime Minister Modi had spoken about youth exchange program. So, how will this youth exchange also help improve ties beyond the government interactions?
I think that's what we are discussing, that interaction among people to people, the youth knowing each other, seeing the potential of cooperation in the area, and appreciating each other's system, each other's economy, and moving away from the traditional mindset that Africa is a difficult place to do business. Of course, Angola had witnessed 27 years of civil war where MPLA, FLNA, UNITA all had fought for a long time. But now it's a much more stable country and it's doing good business and have good engagement with many other global players. And this youth exchange will, of course, enhance people-to-people contact.
Now, Angola, Professor Dube, had a huge civil war from 1975 to 2001. And a lot of the land which we are talking about is good for agriculture was under the influence of mines. And, demining has taken place. So, we are talking about an agricultural cooperation that Angola has a lot of land, but, it still needs to be demined, quite a lot of it. How do you think that this would progress?
No, I think it's still demining is a major challenge. There were very long-term civil war, and both China, Soviet Union, and UNITA, which was backed by South Africa and the United States, were involved, and Angola got adversely affected by that. But that issue can be solved with the modern technology. They can be demined, and the potential of agricultural productions in terms of Indian entrepreneurship in agricultural production, in terms of technology, in terms of equipment, is tremendous. And I think the beginning has been made. I'm sure it's going to succeed in years to come because Angola needs cooperation in this area.
Now, in terms of traditional medicine, we understand that India has a very solid system which has prevailed for many years, and India has established a certain global presence. To what extent can, are traditional medicines actually a way of life also in Africa, and to not only just in Angola, but the whole of Africa? Could we see, a larger spread of Indian traditional medicines?
Yes, Indian traditional medicine is very important, not just as medicine itself, but also the way it is going to be distributed, the way it is going to be administered in terms of through local dispensaries. Also, these medicines are known to have very little side effects, and they are very cost effective, and they are very nature friendly. So in that sense, people of Africa, especially of Angola, also would appreciate that kind of medicinal support, and it will complement what is the modern medical system and modern medicine of today.
Also that Angola is the president of the African Union. Of course, it was under India's leadership that the African Union became a member of the G20. To what extent has the African Union been able to express itself on the global stage as a result of that?
Well, there are hard facts about that, about African Union. It's a collective body. It's a collective organization of African states. India had been able to get them at G20, and all the developed countries also supported moving African Union to G20. But the fact remains that 65% of African Union funding comes from outside. It's not by African country. And therefore, there is already a huge global engagement with African Union in terms of its running, in terms of its survival, and in terms of its planning. So I think moving to G20 through India and then global engagement of in African Union will enable Africa to speak more effectively.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Professor Ajay Kumar Dube from the School of International Studies, JNU. Thank you for talking to us on India-Angolan ties. The Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will hold a bilateral meeting with Japan's Minister of Defence, General Nakatani. This is going to happen in New Delhi on Monday. Both sides will exchange views on ideas on the current regional and international security situation. They are going to discuss ways to further deepen bilateral defense cooperation. India and Japan share a long-term friendship, which has further gained qualitative momentum. This is after the elevation of this collaboration to what's called the Special Strategic and Global Partnership that happened in 2014. Defense and security are important pillars of the ties between these two countries. And this will be the second meeting between the two defense ministers in 6 months. Okay, let's get you all the news from Waves 2025. It's the first of its kind World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit, which concluded in Mumbai today. The World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit 2025 concluded in Mumbai on its final day with a resounding celebration of India's creative prowess as well as its burgeoning role as a global hub for media and entertainment. Here's the report.
On the final day on Sunday, Waves, the landmark event organized by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, in partnership with the Government of Maharashtra, brought together over 10,000 delegates, 1,000 creators, 300 companies, and 350 startups from more than 90 countries. At Creatosphere, the participants showcased their work and also impressed the public who were given the access on day 3 and 4 of the summit.
I think it's a good opportunity, and I think there should be another season, and for next season I would basically, I don't know what to recommend at the moment because I'm still analyzing, but I think the flow should just go on. I think there should be more people getting involved in this.
I think representing India and Indian comics on a global platform like Waves is I think I feel very fortunate, first of all. Excitement obviously, and I also feel that it is such a beautiful and brave and bold move that the government of India has taken to honor and showcase all the different types of creative people that India has.
This is one of the best things that has happened to comics in recent years, because comics is a reading thing, and reading is a dying art in India. People are not reading anyways. So I really appreciate the government of India's initiative to include comics.
It was a hackathon conducted by the Ministry of Information and Ministry of Electronics. So yes, it definitely feels amazing when we are working for the government on a problem statement that can make an impact.
The day saw several high-energy plenary sessions and master classes featuring industry titans on topics including changing dynamics of AVGC XR sector in AI era, best practices for social media advertising for influencers, a workshop on digital sculpting and filmmaking using mobile camera. Award ceremony for various CIC were also recognizing the work and talents of the winners. The day also witnessed high voltage performance of 3 winners of the Resonate the EDM Challenge who captivated the audience with their work. As the curtains fell on May 4, 2025, Waves left an indelible mark not only on the delegates who attended but also on the global perception of India's creative potential. The summit's legacy will undoubtedly inspire continued innovation, collaboration, and storytelling, ensuring that India's voice resonates in every home and heart worldwide. Shama Mishra's report for DD India.
Well, at Waves 2025, the Bharat Gaming Pavilion captured global attention, showcasing India's rise as a gaming power. And from AI-driven innovation to homegrown titles, it brought Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision to life. The Prime Minister himself had visited the pavilion and he engaged with gamers and developers. Here's a report by Tapas Bhattacharya.
At Waves 2025, the Bharat Gaming Pavilion stood out as a powerful showcase of India's rising dominance in the global gaming arena. Spread across a massive 2,500 square meters, the pavilion brought to life Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of taking Indian gaming to the world.
To create the Bharat Gaming Pavilion and take Indian, take from Indian culture and legacy and take these through games to to the world, like Indian stories to the world. That was the idea.
From artificial intelligence and machine learning to cutting-edge gaming technologies, the exhibit demonstrated how India is blending innovation with immersive storytelling to deliver world-class user experiences. Set up by Dream Sports and supported by industry giants like Krafton, Nazara, Geo Games, and Xbox. The Bharat Gaming Pavilion is a true celebration of India's digital potential. On day one, the Prime Minister himself visited the pavilion. He interacted with founders, developers, and young gamers, and even tried his hand at Indian-made titles like Dream Cricket 25 and 4G. According to an EY report, India's online gaming sector is poised to hit $9.2 billion by fiscal year 2029, with a projected investment of $2.3 billion in the next 3 years. The industry already employs over 2 lakh Indians and is expected to generate another 2 lakh high-skilled jobs in the coming years. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
The next big wave of revolution in the gaming industry is right here at the Wave Summit in Mumbai, and we can tell you that with the push from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a lot is being done here, and we believe that this gaming industry is poised for massive growth in the years to come. With camera person Ashish, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Mumbai.
What's still to come here on DD India News are: Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Khelo India Youth Games 2025. Sri Lankan women beat India by 3 wickets in the second game of their tri-series in Colombo. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. And now let's get you the sports news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the Khelo India Youth Games 2025 on Sunday in Bihar, which is an eastern state of India, with over 8,500 athletes taking part in it. Now, this 7th edition of the Premier Youth Sports Competition, it began with a grand opening ceremony in Patna. Tournament features 28 disciplines. These include Olympic and non-Olympic as well as indigenous sports. The indigenous sports are like Malakhamb, Yogasana and Kho-Kho. Let's look at this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi virtually inaugurated the 7th edition of Khelo India Youth Games through a video message on Sunday. On this occasion, several dignitaries were present, including Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, Union Sports Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavya, and Minister of State for Sports Raksha Khadse. In a colorful opening ceremony, PM Modi conveyed his best wishes to all the athletes participating in the games.
बिहार के गांवों में खेल सुविधाओं का निर्माण किया गया है। अब खेलो इंडिया यूथ गेम्स नेशनल स्पोर्ट्स मैप पर बिहार की उपस्थिति को और मजबूत करने में मदद करेंगे। स्पोर्ट्स की दुनिया और स्पोर्ट्स से जुड़ी इकोनॉमी सिर्फ फील्ड तक सीमित नहीं है। आज ये नौजवानों को रोजगार और स्वरोजगार को भी नए अवसर दे रहा है।
Bihar's Chief Minister Nitish Kumar also addressed the gathering.
इस वर्ष 2025 के आयोजन की जिम्मेदारी बिहार को दी गई है। यह हम सभी बिहार वासियों के लिए बहुत ही गौरव की बात है और खुशी की बात है। इसी के चलते अब काम और तेजी से होगा।
Union Sports Minister said that hosting the Khelo India Games in Bihar will contribute significantly to realizing the dream of a developed India.
मुझे खुशी है 2025 यूथ गेम्स का शुभारंभ हो रहा है और यजमान बिहार है। 38वीं नेशनल गेम्स में 12 मेडल लाके स्पोर्ट्स सेक्टर में भी बिहार आगे बढ़ रहा है, उसको प्रतिबिंबित करा है। बिहार आगे बढ़ रहा है, बिहार नीतीश जी के नेतृत्व में बदल रहा है।
This is the first time that Bihar is hosting the Khelo India Games. Over 8,500 athletes from all states and union territories of the country are participating in the event. Competitions will be held across 5 cities in Bihar: Patna, Gaya, Bhagalpur, Begusarai and Rajgir. Additionally, some events will also take place in Delhi. Overall, athletes will showcase their sporting skills in 28 disciplines. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, Sri Lankan women, they defeated India by 3 wickets in their second round robin game of the Tri-Series in Colombo. Sri Lanka chased down a target of 276, losing 7 wickets with 5 balls to spare. They defeated India in the ODI after 7 years. And put into bat, the Indian side put on a formidable 275 runs for the loss of 9 wickets in the allotted 50 overs. Richa Ghosh had top scored with 58 runs. With able support from Jemima Rodrigues and Pratika Rawal. And in reply, Sri Lanka made a steady start, reaching 200 in the 37th over. 50s from Harshita and Nilakshi Silva helped the hosts complete the chase. And in the Indian Premier League, Kolkata Knight Riders had clinched a nervy last ball win over Rajasthan Royals in a high-scoring thriller at the Eden Gardens on Sunday. Andre Russell's half-century helped KKR post a target of 206 runs, and Riyan Prayag's highest IPL score kept Rajasthan Royals in the game despite losing 5 wickets for 71 runs. The win kept KKR in the hunt for a top 4 spot, trailing 4th placed Punjab Kings by 2 points, although they have played a game more. Rajasthan, placed at the 8th spot in the points table, are now officially out of the playoff race. And we end this bulletin with news from Vietnam. India's Parliamentary Affairs Minister and Minister for Minority Affairs, Kiren Rijiju, visited the Sam Ten Hills in Vietnam, and he shared glimpses of the historic site in a social media post on X. The Sam Ten Hills site has the world's largest prayer wheel, Drigung, Kagya, Rinchen, Korchen, Korwe, Gokek. Minister Kiren Rijiju is himself a Buddhist. This is a truly inspiring experience for him.
37.7 points.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn. Thank you very much for being with us here on DD India News Hour. Namaskar.